NHL today, right here on SportsGrid. Great to have everybody with us, as always, as we drop the puck on a Friday on the grid, getting you ready for all the action tonight on the ice and this weekend. Look at some futures, plenty to do, as always, here on NHL today. We will have Blue Line Kurtz with us today later on in the middle segment. No Dave today, so we'll get George Kurtz in the mix, and we'll talk about some playoff numbers, things like that, with him later on as well. A couple weeks to go here. We've hit, we're creeping into mid-January. You're going to have the break coming up as well. No All-Star. Remember, they're playing the Four Nations this year, not the All-Star game. So we have a few weeks before some of these teams are going to get themselves a little bit of rest, but lots of hockey to come as we move forward. Some things from last night, and then we'll look at a somewhat limited Friday night slate in the NHL. But as you know, it's always packed on a Thursday. And let's go over a few of the particulars. First, Lightning beat the Bruins 4-1 last night. Tampa's been playing some really good hockey lately. We talked about them a week or two ago in our future segment. Tampa now into third place in the Atlantic Division after that win. They got the Cirelli shorty early in the second period, and they took off from there. So they jump Boston. Boston slides into the wild card spot. Boston's been playing some real bad. They've lost 4 in a row. Not looking good for them. Rangers beat the Devils 3-2 in overtime last night. Now, why is that significant? Well, first of all, the Rangers always beat the Devils, especially since Hughes has been there. Devils were coming home after being out west on a very poor trip. Remember, the Devils were out west losing in places like Anaheim, San Jose. They did get themselves a win on the way home in Seattle, but still, nice to be back in their own beds, but not back in their own barn yet. They do lose at the Garden 3-2. The Rangers get Shesterkin back, which is huge for them because, as we're going to talk about, there's a lot of mediocre teams hanging around in that middle part of the Eastern Conference trying to get those last 2 wildcard spots. The Rangers have had a very tough couple of months, but as they look, they're only a couple points back from getting themselves into one of those last 2 spots, getting Shesterkin healthy, finally putting a couple pucks in the net, seeing some good play from guys like Zibanejad. Maybe the Rangers, and it's a pretty good number for them to still make the playoffs. I'll give it to you in a little while, can get themselves going because they got just as much, if not more, talent than any of those teams that are in that muck at the middle to bottom of the East. We'll see if they can springboard themselves off of a couple good wins this week. Remember, they beat up Chicago earlier in the week as well. Stars beat the Flyers 4-1. Stars have now won 6 games in a row. They are playing some very good hockey. Penguins beat the Oilers last night. How about that? 5-3 at the PPG in Pittsburgh. And this guy Crosby is amazing. And I know if you're not a Penguin fan, you probably don't like Crosby because he's torched your team so much in the past. But he's gotten to that point where you really have to respect the stuff that this guy does. He moves into 9th on the all-time scoring list last night. He had 3 points in that win over Edmonton. He still looks like, despite being in his late 30s now, he still looks like he's one of the 5-6 best players in the league. And that is a testament to Sid, not the Kid anymore. Maybe it used to be Sid the Kid, not Sid the Kid anymore. That is for sure. Draisaitl, by the way, did have 2 for the Oilers. He is running away with that Rocket Richard. He scored his 30th and 31st last night. You go look at those numbers. I think he's like -700, -800 to win the Rocket Richard. Draisaitl, of course, having himself a good year. Columbus beat Seattle 6-2 last night. Columbus now 29-12-1 to the over so far this year. So Columbus has been playing a lot of crazy games, scoring lots of goals. They've moved into how about this? Columbus is in the second spot in the Eastern Conference right now, that second wild card spot. And here's the reason why. The Columbus Blue Jackets, 14-5-3 at home this year, and where they fired a candidate nationwide. So they have been excellent on home ice, and I'm not very good on the road. Excellent on home ice. We know the kind of emotion that they've been playing with this year after the passing of Johnny Gaudreau. And Columbus has been a lot better than teams expected, and they find themselves now, at least in mid-January, sitting in a spot in the NHL playoffs if the season were to end today. Carolina beat the Leafs 6-3 last night. Hat trick for Jordan Staal. Good game from him as the Leafs got suffocated down there in Carolina. Blues beat the Ducks 6-2. Blues come right out of the gate, 4 goals in the first 13 minutes of the first period. put them away, 6-2 win. I did like the Ducks on the road last night. I'm still not a big believer in St. Louis, but they've been playing some pretty good hockey as of late. I was very surprised to see Colorado last night. It's funny, I watched Colorado lose in Chicago on Wednesday night in what was a completely gutless effort, and then for them on a back-to-back to go into Minnesota and smash the Wild 6-1, that's a hell of a job by Colorado, and serves them well moving forward. And finally from last night, a rare, great performance from the New York Islanders, who, if you can figure it out, go into Vegas and beat the Knights 4-0. Second shutout of the season for Sorokin. Anders Lee had a goal in his 800th career game. So the Islanders having themselves fun. I guess you could say this, it's probably the best game they played all year. The New York Islanders, to go on the road in Vegas on the Strip and actually play well. Maybe they could start to turn the corner a little bit, like I just said, the Rangers could do. Although I have a little bit less faith in the Islanders turning the corner. But Lou does. I heard Lou the other day say, "Yep, we're still in this. We got a shot." We shall see. So that was your night last night on the ice. We have ourselves a bunch of games tonight on the schedule, 5 on a Friday night. In the NHL, Chicago is going to be in Detroit against the Red Wings tonight. Now, the Red Wings have been playing some good hockey. They've won 5 straight. They've won 4 out of 5 against Chicago. Of course, they only play them a couple times a year now. Chicago's lost 5 in a row on the road. Detroit did beat them 4-1 back in November. We got a bunch of guys on Detroit I'm going to get to later who have got some good streaks going, whether that's Larkin, Kane, etc., in terms of putting some points on the board. So good one tonight. Of course, Wings minus $1.84 at home with the 5.5 there. Montreal is in D.C. tonight against the Caps, who still lead the Metro, doing a great job. Caps, by the way, the best money line team in the NHL, plus 11.4 units for Washington if you've been going to the window for them. But who's the second best money line team in the NHL this year? The Montreal Canadiens, plus 7.6 units so far this year. So the two best money line teams at the window are playing each other tonight in D.C. Caps have won both games that they played against the Habs earlier this year. Both games also went over that 5.5, which is where they're sitting at tonight. Caps are laying heavy lumber, too, minus 220 in that game against Montreal. Vancouver's going to be in Carolina. Vancouver's on an East Coast trip. They got all kinds of problems. They've lost 8 of their last 10. Carolina beat them in overtime in Vancouver back in October. So you have that going as well. Tonight, Carolina back-to-back. Beat the Leafs last night at home, and now they get the Canucks in their building this evening. Kings are in Winnipeg in the Great White North against the Jets. Kings have won 4 in a row, playing good hockey. They beat Winnipeg 4-1 back in November. Plus 105 for the Kings tonight on the road. Low total 5.5, minus $1.26 for the Jets in that one. And San Jose will be in Utah tonight, Salt Lake, to see the Hockey Club. Utah has lost, how about this? Salt Lake's not been kind to the Hockey Club. They've lost 9 of their last 10 at home, and yet they're minus 280 tonight against the Sharks. They've lost 9 out of 10 at home. Gotta be kidding me. San Jose beat them in Utah 5-4 back in October. Big number for the Sharks tonight. Are we going to dive in the tank? We shall see if we are going to be able to do that. So we have a lot to get to. NHL today here on the grid. We will come back. Blue Line Kurtz, George Kurtz in the mix this week on NHL today. I want to talk to him. I was just mentioning some of those numbers for some of these teams to make the playoffs. That muck in the middle bottom of the Eastern Conference. Who can actually come out of that and find themselves there? Mike Carver with you. NHL today on the grid. We are back right after this.
Wild Card Weekend kicks off with pro football today at 10 a.m.
And you know SportsGrid will have you covered the entire way.
Join in-game live during the Chargers and Texans matchup at 4 p.m. for in-game betting opportunities. And right after, the Steelers and Ravens continue their historical division rivalry.
Take a look at some in-game betting opportunities in terms of the prop market.
Don't miss a second, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this, I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text, put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, hey, I never got the text. And I'm like,
no.
Oh yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. When he texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe, like, it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Statement from Giants president John Mara. Joe Shane and Brian Daboll will continue in their respective roles with the organization. As disappointing as the results of the season have been, Steve Tisch and I remain confident in the process that Joe and Brian have implemented.
The Giants, an absolute train wreck, and I love it.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
It's going to be copy-paste. Books are, not good. Win total's a tick too low. Knock it right over. Make playoff price tick too juicy. Bang it out. Postseason comes around on a tee. Knock their heads off.
I don't think the Steelers organization just makes a move to make a move. They have to have, it's like being in the book. You have to know what you're going to move the line to.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
And we are back. NHL Today, right here on SportsGrid. Mike Carver here with you every week, dropping the puck, taking you through everything in the National Hockey League. Let us now bring in our man, the one, the only, Blue Line Kurtz. Gentleman George Kurtz with us today on NHL Today. George, great to see you as always, my man. And George is in a good mood today. I was just kind of recapping everything from last night, getting you ready for tonight. And George, the Islanders played their best game of the year, a 4-0 win out in Vegas against the Knights. The only problem for George was he couldn't watch it, but because of some cable problems here in the New York area. But either way, George, great effort by the Islanders last night. You had a couple really good games. Nice job by Tampa, I mentioned, in their win. Rangers beating the Devils for the first time in forever. So good night all around for some of the locals.
Yeah, some of the locals playing well. I guess do we count the Devils as being local? They still got a point anyway, right? So
I guess we have to. So
we're sort of waiting for both the Islanders and Rangers, though. What's the next big step here? I mean, Lou, you already mentioned Lou, right? He believes, the team believes here. Are they going to make a move to try and get in? You said it in your last comment there. That Eastern Conference is a quagmire from 7 on down, 7 to 16. Everybody's within 5 points of each other. It's going to be interesting to see what teams give in, what teams go for it as we get close to a trade deadline in early March.
As we sit here right now, George, and listen, we still have miles and miles to go before we get to the finish line. Everybody's just about in that midway point in terms of games played, 40, 41, 42. Everybody's kind of just about there. So we got a half a season still to go. But when you look at the two wild cards today, which is Boston and Columbus in the Eastern Conference, 45 and 44 points respectively. Pittsburgh 44, Ottawa 41, Montreal 41, Detroit 40, Rangers 40, Islanders 39, Philly 39. So that means you have all those teams within 5-6 points of each other. And even Buffalo's only 37, and they lost 13 games in a row. And they probably consider themselves still in the mix, only 7 points back, too. So it's like that some of these teams are going to get in, George. And I was looking at it from the Rangers' perspective. They have the most, quote-unquote, pedigree and talent. They went to the Eastern Conference Finals a year ago. They just got Shesterkin back last night. And they're still giving you a pretty good number on the Rangers, plus 162 to make the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. Do you believe, George, that they would be one of the two teams that gets their act together and gets through all of this muck that's in the middle to bottom?
Yeah, I think we have to remember the Rangers were, before the season, a favorite, not only maybe win the division, but certainly make the playoffs here, and maybe even make some noise as far as getting to the Stanley Cup. This was expected to be a good team. Now, the Rangers are a specialty team. They were last year, sort of are this year. They rely on the power play, and that went away this year. For whatever reason, they weren't scoring power play goals here. The defense is not good. I may not say it's poor, but it's not good. All right, so it's below average there, so they need help there. And Shesterkin is an excellent goaltender. So theoretically, they should be in the playoffs, yeah. So to answer your question, Mikey, I think they do get in. I think they're a team, sort of like, remember Colorado last year? They struggled and then made the playoffs. And then they're not a team, let's just say they get a wild card spot. They don't get a top three. You think Toronto, who's in first place in the Atlantic, will be thrilled to play in the Rangers round one if the Rangers have gotten their act together, but didn't get it enough together to finish in top three? I mean, that's not going to be fun. And I don't think Washington will be thrilled playing the Rangers round one either. So I think they could be that team, but that being said, they're a mess. We know they're a mess, right? They're releasing players, they're trading players, they're claiming players, they're doing everything they can here, and I don't think they're done. I think there is another big move coming. We heard it earlier in the week that the Rangers are after JT Miller. We know the Vancouver situation is just as crazy here, where Miller or Pedersen has to go. The Rangers tried to get Miller earlier in the season, straight up for Zibanejad. Vancouver said no, and now apparently they're talking, the Rangers are trying to talk to get JT Miller again, and I am of the belief that either Miller or Pedersen is going to get dealt.
I'm of that belief as well, George, as we still have a little bit of a stone's throw away from the trade deadline. Vancouver is a team that they do like to shake things up. We have seen that a lot from them in the past. We saw them a couple of years ago trade Horvat to the Islanders. We know that they do like to mix things around, and it sounds like those two guys can't be together anymore anyway. The book tells you that the Bruins and Ottawa are going to be the two teams that get the wild card, plus 106, plus 110. But Penguins plus 280. Detroit, who's won 5 in a row, plus 520. Columbus, who's in one of the spots right now, plus 540. Flyers plus 630. Canadians plus 630. Those are some pretty big numbers, George. And I know, you hear those teams, they don't sound very appealing. But with how this conference is shaken out, one of those big numbers might be worth taking a shot at, whether it's Detroit, Columbus, Philly, or Montreal.
Yeah, they might be, because someone's got to get in, right? So someone is going to make it out of that group. At least I think they are. Listen, I don't believe in Pittsburgh, by the way. I know they're one spot out now, but they've played 43 games, more than the rest of these teams. Ottawa, Montreal, Detroit have all only played 40. So we got to keep that in mind here. They theoretically, they're right there with these teams. A team that I've liked pretty much all season long. And when I say like, by the way, I mean that I thought could get to the playoffs. Not do any damage in the playoffs, but I like the Ottawa Senators. All right, new ownership last year. They're going to be a little chaotic there. You get Ullmark, right? You trade for Ullmark. I know he's hurt, but he'll be back shortly. I think that helps their offense. I mean, Stützle, Brady Tkachuk, Josh Norris, who's sort of coming into his own now, Batherson, you got Giroux here. I think they'll make an addition. I don't know if it's going to be a major addition, but I think it could be a second line forward is what I expect coming from them. Maybe another defenseman here. Wouldn't it be nice if they had Chikrin, who's having a great season for the Washington Capitals here? But I would take a shot at the Ottawa Senators that they sneak in. Mainly, I'm a goaltending guy, Mike. I do like Ullmark. I think once he gets back healthy, they're winning without him. And once he comes back healthy, stabilizes that position, I think they can make a run, and I love those games in hand.
And it's funny, on the west side of things, how you brought up Vancouver, it's so different when you look at the playoff board on the west side, because it's almost like they have the 8 teams. Like, it's almost like they don't think that anyone who's not in the 8 right now is going to make it. With Utah being plus 215, really the closest shot out of the non-playoffs right now. The Flames are plus 260. Nashville 10-1. We know how buried they are. St. Louis 6-1. They're only 2 points back. I mean, those are 6-1. They're 2 points out, George. I know I smash the Blues all the time, but they're going to be right in there as well for the gate. I do have one of these to make the playoff teams in my and the 5 to finish things up. George Kurtz, great job as always. NHL Today here on the Grid. Mike Carver with you. We're back right after this.
two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
It's going to be copy-paste. Looks up, not good. Win total's a tick too low. Knock it right over. Make playoff price tick too juicy. Bang it out. Postseason comes around on a tee. Knock their heads off.
I don't think the Steelers organization just makes a move to make a move. They have to have, it's like being in the book. You have to know what you're going to move the line to.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Louis Riddick has interviewed for every job in North America. And I'm not just talking football. I'm talking about every business in North America of any kind whatsoever. Tire companies, grocery store CEOs, shopping malls, insurance companies. What job hasn't Louis Riddick interviewed for?
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid. Wild Card Weekend kicks off with Pro Football today at 10 a.m.
And you know SportsGrid will have you covered the entire way.
Join in-game live during the Chargers and Texans matchup at 4 p.m. for in-game betting opportunities. And right after, the Steelers and Ravens continue their historical division rivalry.
Taking a look at some in-game betting opportunities in terms of the prop market.
Don't miss a second, only on SportsGrid.
And we are back, NHL Today, right here on SportsGrid. Mike Carver with you. Great job by Blue Line Kurtz there as we set you up with a couple of numbers to make the playoffs, which will be a lot of fun moving forward. All right, it is time. Final five here on NHL Today. Some plays for tonight and a future to maybe add to the portfolio going forward. All right, we always start with the power play points. We've hit a couple the past few weeks. I know last week we had Crosby, which was a nice one. Let's get to tonight on the power play. We're going to start in that Blackhawk-Red Wing game. Now, I think you got a lot of options in this game. Both teams both are in the top 12 in power play percentages here. Red Wings have really been cooking as Patty Kane and Larkin and the crew have been lighting it up on the power play. But I'm going to go with Connor Bedard right now in the top 20 individually in terms of power play points this year with 17, plus 260 for Connor Bedard tonight to get involved. Clayton Keller for Utah. Sharks, bottom 10 penalty kill unit in the league. We'll go with Keller, plus 170 there. And finally, Martin Necas at plus 260 tonight for the power play. In the top 5 on power play points this season. He's got 20. And I know Vancouver's kill, not one of the worst in the league. Carolina's power play, kind of in the middle. But Necas has been very good, plus 260 for him with the extra man. Keller, Necas, and Bedard tonight. That will be our power play points. All right, next, a goal scorer for tonight. I'm going to go with a guy who's hot. We like goal scoring can be very streaky, and nobody's been hotter than Dylan Larkin right now for the Wings. He has scored a goal in 4 straight games. He's got 5 goals in those 4 games altogether. So plus 160 for Dylan Larkin tonight to score for the Wings against the Blackhawks. So we're looking for lots of goals in that game, by the way, if you didn't tell already. Bedard, Larkin, lots of up, and away there. Next, side for tonight. I'm going to actually take a road team here, and I know I'm going into a tough spot in the Great White North in Winnipeg, but the Kings have won 4 games in a row. They're a pretty good team on the road. Like the way they're playing, and you're getting them at a little bit of plus money, plus 105. So we're going to take the Kings in Winnipeg tonight over the Jets with the number. For the total, it sounds like I'd want Chicago and Detroit, but I'm actually not going to go there. I'm going to go Montreal and Washington tonight for the over 5.5. I think the number's a little light. I think that should be more than the 6.5 range. It's minus 120 to the over. both the meetings earlier this year, they sailed through a 5.5. One didn't sail through. One did. One landed on 6. The other one landed on 8 or 9. But either way, they've scored some goals against each other this year. We're going to go over 5.5 with Montreal and Washington. And for the future, to finish off the Final 5, I figured let's stay with what we were talking about with George. I'm going to take one of those teams near the bottom of the Eastern Conference to make the playoffs. And that is, I'm going to take a shot with Columbus. You know, they're in the spot right now. I love how they've played at home. When you're that team that's that dominant on their home rink, that always works out. Now, they got to get it going a little bit on the road in order for this to cash for us. I love them, and they're playing with a heavy hearts, emotion. This is going to be a season-long thing with them not having Gaudreau. It's carried over. They're playing better hockey. They're scoring tons of goals. I told them most overs in the NHL this year. I don't know if that's going to translate to getting in either. But great home ice and scoring lots of goals. Big number at plus 540. Not a lot of great teams that they're in the mix with. We'll take a crack with Columbus to make the playoffs in the Eastern Conference at plus 540 for our future today. So Final 5 for tonight. Power play, Bedard, Nashis, Keller. Goal scorer, Dylan Larkin for the Wings. Side, Kings in Winnipeg, plus 105. Total, Montreal and Washington over the 5.5. And Columbus to make the playoffs in the Eastern Conference at plus 540. All right, a couple of other news and notes things to look at. And there's some really good games this weekend. A ton of games on Saturday. Lightning are in the Rock against the Devils. Good one. The Columbus team I was just talking about is in St. Louis. Both those teams trending a little forward right now. Colorado keeps their road trip going in Winnipeg against the Jets. Caps will have a back-to-back. They're going to Nashville after playing tonight against Montreal. The Rangers are in Vegas now, so the Islanders and the Rangers both heading west. Isles are in Utah tomorrow night. Rangers will go to Vegas where the Islanders were last night. And the Wild will be in San Jose against the Sharks. And they announced that winter class. Remember I talked with Dave about this a couple weeks ago. Florida going to have the outdoor games next year, as the Panthers will host the Rangers January 2nd of 26, and Tampa will host Boston at the Pirate Ship in Raymond James in February of next year. So that's pretty cool as well. NHL today, great job by George Kurtz, great job by Tommy Vinny and the crew. Enjoy the pucks tonight and this weekend. We will see you back next week right here on NHL Today. See you then on the grid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Wild Card Weekend kicks off with pro football today at 10 a.m.
And you know SportsGrid will have you covered the entire way.
Join in-game live during the Chargers and Texans matchup at 4 p.m. for in-game betting opportunities. And right after, the Steelers and Ravens continue their historical division rivalry.
Taking a look at some in-game betting opportunities in terms of the prop market.
Don't miss a second, only on SportsGrid.